What's up everybody, SuperWorks fan here, and today I want to give you a tour of my 2016 Mustang GT. Now, for those of you that want a very detailed, in-depth tour of a 2015 and up Mustang, I did do a really detailed one on my EcoBoost, and this is nearly identical aside from the V8 in it essentially. So if you want to see, that video is like 42 minutes long that I did on the EcoBoost, so definitely go check out that one if you're curious about every single little nook and cranny of the 2015 and up Mustangs. That video will give you a really good guide of, walk around of everything. This video is primarily going to be answering a lot of your questions and giving you a tour of some of the differences between the EcoBoost and the GT here, and some of the nice improvements for 2016 that I liked, and yeah, like I said, answering a lot of your questions. So anyway, we'll just show you around it here. So like I showed you in the delivery video, it's of course the same color guard, which is this dark green color. It looks absolutely beautiful, I think, here in the bright sunlight especially. And so one of the biggest questions, I'll just start answering all your questions. One of the questions was, why did you get the same color, and why did you get this color? Some people really hate this color and do not like it for whatever reason. I love this color. It's my absolute favorite color for the Mustang. The main reason being, I'm obsessed with the Bullitt Mustang, the 1968 Mustang that was driven by Steve McQueen in the movie Bullitt. And so this was basically about as close as you can get to that color. That color is called Highland Green. The Bullitt editions of the previous Mustangs was called Dark Highland Green. This is a little bit of a different shade. It's a little more gray, not quite as green, but I think it still looks really beautiful, and it's close enough to make me happy, and at least until they actually do a proper Bullitt version, then maybe I'll look into one of those. But in the meantime, this is pretty close, and that's the other reason why I got these wheels too, is they're similar to like torque thrust like you would find on the Bullitts and whatnot, and they're only $155 option for the Mustangs here. They're 18 inches, and I know some people would like the C20s or some kind of aftermarket wheels or something crazy, but I really like these wheels for multiple reasons. The first is they're actually only 235 wide tires, which is actually a really nice thing for two different reasons. First is they're 235 in the back too, which is very skinny, and some people say, oh, you're not gonna have enough grip. Everyone that has a Mustang GT feels the need, it seems, to do stupid wide tires in the back, but for me that kills all the tail happiness and all the crazy fun of having a rear-wheel drive car. Is you want to have the back end slide out on you, and I'm sure that you could still have some tail happy fun, and there are cars with wide tires that do still have the tail happy characteristics, but the 5.0 is a nice motor, but it's not the torquiest V8 out there, and so I want to retain a lot of that tail happiness, and that's why I don't want grip. I want my Mustang to not have any grip, and that might be totally backwards to some car enthusiasts, but that's what I loved about my BRZ, was it had no grip, but you slid the thing around everywhere, and it was hilarious fun. I think that's gonna be the same way, because the BRZ had 215 wide tires. This is only 235, so not much wider, and you have 435 horsepower here with the GT, so should be fun. So that's one of the reasons why I really liked it. Also, I have snow tires left over from the EcoBoost. Those are also 235 50/18 tires, so I can reuse the same snow tires as the EcoBoost. I don't have to sell the other ones on Craigslist and buy new ones, and that saves a good amount of money as well. Speaking of saving money, some people are like, oh, how is it financially smart to go from an EcoBoost to a GT? One of the reasons was my EcoBoost, the tires were pretty low. They had like 4 or 3 30 seconds left on them, and most dealerships won't give you your money back on tires if you bought brand new tires. So it was a perfect timing there, because instead of spending $800 on tires, I was able to, get a nicer car with brand new tires, and I still got the same trade-in value as I would have gotten if the car had brand new tires on it. So I saved myself, some potentially wasted money there by having to buy new tires on the EcoBoost. And speaking of that, I'm going to give you guys all the details on my deal here, because I'm open about that stuff. It doesn't really bother me. So they gave me $21,000 for the EcoBoost on trade-in. Now that may sound really low considering the car was over $30,000 brand new, but I got X-Plan on it back then, and so that helped us, it was cheaper than the sticker price was. And in addition to that, the EcoBoost just haven't held their value. They've all dropped like rocks, and so the Blue Book value on mine was around 20 or 20 and a half. So 21,000 was actually better than I should be expecting for the car, in all fairness. So whenever the dealership said 21 grand, I said, okay, actually I'm okay with that. I did negotiate the deal, and I'll talk about that in a second, but I don't like beating dealers up. I'm not going to, try and reason beyond the fair value of the car, and I'm not going to try and, really, beat them over the head to try and get more money out of them than what is fair. And 21 was a perfectly fair trade-in value for one of the highest mileage EcoBoost Mustangs out there. It wasn't super high, but almost 30,000 miles, almost 29,000, 28 and 880 or so on it. So high mileage, it's the manual, which also limits the market a little bit because obviously the automatic's probably more popular. So that was, one of the, a lot of the reasons why, I think it was only worth 21, but that was totally okay with me. Now this one here, the sticker price for this is $39,940. So this one is the GT Premium. It has the 401A package. It has these foundry wheels, the 355 rear gear for, the final drive ratio there, and then it also has the enhanced security package, and those are the only options on this one. But I love that because the 401A package is the same thing as the 201A package my EcoBoost had, which gives you, for those that are unaware of all the Mustang lingo, it gives you the blind spot monitoring, which is nice because you don't have that bubble here. I don't like that bubble that they have for the wider view. I like just having the blind spot monitoring. It's always nice to have. And then in addition to that, you also have the memory seats, which I'll show you real quick here. You get those, which is nice. You do get additional speakers as well. That's the other upgrade, is the Shaker audio system, which gives you the subwoofer in the back here. And I absolutely love the sound system in this car. I think it's so good. It was amazing in the EcoBoost and really blew me away. And although I'll probably be using the radio less here in the GT because I'm enjoying the engine sounds more, it still is nice to have a really good sound system, especially on long drives and things like that. So nice to have that. Another difference here, the GTs have a bigger spoiler standard than the EcoBoost. It comes out, whereas the EcoBoost one stopped right at the trunk line there. But I actually like the new spoiler here as well for the the GT. It looks good. Of course, the GT, one big differentiator is the GT on the back versus the Pony emblem. And you do have nice stock exhaust tips. The stock exhaust tips on the EcoBoost were kind of pathetic looking. These look pretty nice actually. But otherwise, it looks exactly like my EcoBoost. Other differences here, you have a 5.0 badge, of course, and you have the hood vents. And for 2016, they did the turn signals in the hood vents that light up. They're on both sides, and that will, be your turn signal indicator. That is just a cool little quirk, a cool thing that throws back to the 60s when they had those as well. And I absolutely love those. I think it's a really cool feature. In the daytime, they're not too bright. They're actually pretty dim. You can hardly even see them. And you do have to be sitting up fairly high in order to even see the hood vents, just because of how far down the hood they are here. But at night, they actually stand out really nicely for me. And even though I'm 5'9", so I'm a little bit on the shorter side, I can still see them at night, and it's really cool. And you can only see the driver's side one. The passenger side one is out of view for the driver, but the passenger can see it if they're sitting up high enough. But I don't really care. I think it's just a cool thing. And it's really the coolest thing is whenever you're getting out of the car to lock it, that's where you really see them the most, because you'll see both of them light up here, and it's pretty dim, so you might not have even seen that, but at night it really does stand out nicely. And so just a cool little touch. That's the one thing about the Mustangs that set them apart from the Camaros and the Challengers to me, is the cool little touches, the dumb little things that some people think are gimmicky or childish, I think are really cool. You have those. You have the Pony projection lamps, which you can watch my night features video on the EcoBoost that shows off those, and the my color for changing the gauges and stuff, but it projects the Pony emblem on the ground there. Very cool. Other differences for the GT, the only other thing really that differentiates it is the different grille. Now, the EcoBoost had a wavy pattern here, and it did not have these vertical fangs that continue all the way down to the bottom here. And that's really nice. Now, other people commented on the lip. The lip is actually the same lip as the EcoBoost. The only way you get a bigger lip on the Mustangs is if you do a performance package, whether it's EcoBoost performance package or the GT, you get a bigger lip with those. Otherwise, you get the smaller one here. Another question that people have asked me is, why didn't I get the performance package? And so I know I'm jumping around here a little bit. I'm going to get back to all the other things I was going to talk about first too, but the reason why I didn't get the performance package was primarily I would have liked the performance package, but it wasn't a must-have thing for me, because, like, for example, this car does sit a little bit high, and I did do lowering springs on the EcoBoost, and I plan to probably do some kind of lowering springs here on this one as well, most likely eventually. I'm not in a hurry because I actually don't mind the way it looks stock, but the performance package still has the same ride height. The springs are supposedly upgraded, and it does have stiffer sway bars and things like that, which are nice. But you know, if I'm going to be swapping out the springs anyway because I want to lower it, why would I pay extra for springs? And the other things, you know, it has the sway bar, and I did, you know, the GT that I reviewed was a performance package, and I can certainly tell some differences between mine and that one. That one, it was quicker on turn-in, it was a little bit sharper, and you know, a little bit flatter in its handling and stuff, and that's really great, and I enjoy that. But I also enjoy this because this one feels a little bit more muscle car-ish, and I'm not going to be chasing down anyone on the Laguna Seca racetrack or anything in this. Like, I'm not going to track it, I'm not going to even drag race it probably. It's just a fun daily driver, and that's all I want to do with this car. And so for that, I'm happy. If I were going to track it and stuff like that, then I would have probably gotten the performance package. But I don't like tracking my cars just because I'm still paranoid about what if someone hits me, or what if, you know, I do something stupid and slam into a wall. You don't have insurance for that stuff. You can buy track insurance, but usually that costs as much as the track day itself. So it's an expensive game, in addition to obviously wearing through your brakes and tires a lot faster. And it is fun. You know, I did the Dodge event in the fall where I drove the Hellcats on the track. I did really enjoy driving on the track, but taking my own personal cars on the track is just not something that I think I would be fully comfortable doing, and, you know, really all the abuse it puts on my car. Call me lame, I don't care, whatever. That's just my thoughts on that. So that's why I didn't do the performance package. The other stuff the performance package has, the 373 gears, which some people say is actually a little bit too short of, you know, gearing, and some people say the 331s are too tall, and the 355 here that I have is the sweet spot. Matt Farah actually mentioned 355 gears are his preference as well, and I certainly love them so far. So that was another thing. I didn't know if I wanted the 373s. Otherwise, you know, the performance package just has additional gauges in the center of the center stack of the dashboard there, which I didn't feel a need for. They aren't valuable gauges. In the EcoBoost performance package, you get a boost gauge, which is nice to have over there, but in this, it's pointless gauges that most people don't ever really pay attention to anyway. So that seemed unnecessary. You do have the machine-turned aluminum dash trim instead of the standard aluminum on this interior, which I'll show you here real quick. Same as the EcoBoost, but I don't know, that was cool too, but again, that wasn't like a must-have feature. And so, you know, the other thing is you get the 19-inch wheels with the fatter tires, which would have, you know, been cool. I do like the performance pack wheels, but again, not a must-have. And so altogether, you know, paying $2,500 extra bucks for the performance package to me just did not seem totally worth it. I know it is a good value for what you get, and Ford was very good with their pricing of the package, but for me personally, it's not something I had to have. And this car, getting back to my deal on this car, I got a really good deal on this one because it's been sitting for 9 months before I bought it. Just noticed a little thing here. Gotta clean it off. Anyway, so it's sitting for 9 months. I don't know why it sat for 9 months, but I do know that it had inspection stickers from September of last year, so it has been sitting for 9 months. And I kind of was looking for GTs for a long time, just for the fun of it, just for the heck of it. I was like, I'm just gonna keep my eye on in the market and see, you know, how they're priced and stuff. And this one, I watched it sit, and just for kicks, I called about this car back in December just to see what kind of deal they would be willing to do. And back then, they were still willing to work pretty well on a deal, but it wasn't convincing enough, and I wasn't sure. I wanted to, you know, I kind of wanted to still see what the EcoBoost had to offer with the bolt-ons and stuff, so I went ahead and modded the EcoBoost instead of getting a GT then. But this car was still sitting here, and 6 months later, I was like, look, I know this car has been sitting here for 9 months. I know that, you know, it actually, whenever I went to check it out, the car only had like 19 miles on it still, after sitting 9 months, 19 miles. And I was actually kind of paranoid about that because, I mean, it's nice because probably hardly anyone test drove it, but the other flip side of that is the car was just sitting, so I was worried about, you know, brake rotors or pads being a little weird. And at some higher speeds, when I hit the brakes, it does make a little bit of a vibration. I think that will hopefully go away. Worst case scenario, I can, you know, take it to Ford and say my rotors are totally warped. This car has, you know, no miles on it, and, you know, hopefully get something done there. But I really am not worried about that. The other thing is, you know, the tires having flat spots, or the battery being, you know, kind of wonky. The battery was dead whenever I went to test drive it the week before I bought it. And they just jumped it, and it's been fine. So it's just, you know, when a car sits, the battery dies. Not a big deal. Otherwise, I don't think there's anything you really have to worry about. Some people said belts and oil and stuff like that, you know, can be a little bit bothersome, but I think it's fine. You know, modern cars, they're a lot less temperamental, I think, in that way than old cars were, when you had to really be up on all that stuff and everything dried out immediately and stuff. I think it's fine. It's been driving totally great. I have, you know, about 120 some odd miles on it now. Haven't had any issues. But anyway, getting back to my deal, the car was sitting for 9 months, and so I told them this, and I was like, look, I know you guys want to get rid of this. The 2017s are already showing up on dealer lots, and I'll get back to that point as well in a second, but the 17s are already showing up, and I was like, I know you guys don't want a 16, you know, sitting around on your lot. And so you know, they originally had like a sales price, and it was basically like a few $100 under MSRP plus the Ford rebates, and I was like, no, I'm not doing that. And I gave them an out the door price, and they were like, no, we can't do that. So what we settled on for a price for this car now, but this was before factoring in the trade-in and everything, but just the price of this car on its own was $35,470. So roughly a $4,500 discount on the car itself. Now that's a combination of, one, having the rebates from Ford, that's included in that discount. So the rebates were, for me, a standard $750 cash back, which they just gave me the money off it instead of giving me a check back for $750. So $750 discount there, and then I also got the lease conquest rebate, which is $500, simply because all you need to qualify for that is have someone in your household that has a vehicle on lease. And my wife leases her Mercedes, as many of you know, and so she wasn't getting rid of it. She actually just got it recently, but all I had to do is bring in paperwork saying, hey, she leases a Mercedes, and they said okay, and $500 off for that. So in total, $1,250 for the discount there on that. And so yeah, that was the final price, was, you know, about $4,500 off, including the rebates from Ford, which I think is pretty good. Again, it's probably not the best deal of all time, but I was happy with that price. I was happy with the out-the-door price. As far as the EcoBoost goes, I was slightly underwater on that car, upside down. So they gave me 21 for it. I owed about 22 and a half, so about $1,500 upside down. Again, not a big deal. And all told, overall, the cost for me to upgrade to the GT here, as far as, you know, obviously I'm starting a new loan, so I'm, you know, losing you know, that amount. But as far as in my actual monthly payment, my monthly payment now, I got the gap insurance too, just to be safe, because you know, I think that's always generally a good idea most of the time. At least with my purchases recently, it's been a good idea. But with all that included, I'm paying $104 extra a month for the GT over the EcoBoost. Now, it would have been a few bucks less if I didn't get the gap insurance, and if I wasn't upside down, it would have probably been maybe $80 extra a month or something like that. Not a huge difference, but again, I mean, to me, you know, and everyone's financial situations are different, but to me, you know, to be paying only $100 more per month to have a car that I think I'm going to enjoy a lot more and not have stress about, because as many of you know, I was so paranoid about my EcoBoost, especially once it had the tune and the mods and stuff, because I basically threw my warranty away somewhat foolishly. But you know, for me, the mods and all that kind of stuff, it was not worth the risk. And I just, you know, I'm kind of overly paranoid, I will admit that. And so I just didn't, you know, want to have the risk of having the motor blow $7,000 on a new motor in the current EcoBoost that I had. Why not spend, you know, an extra $7,000 or so, I guess, in the grand scheme of things, to get the GT and get the one that I want and get a brand new car at the same time, not just a brand new engine, if something were to happen to the EcoBoost. And that was a worst case scenario. I don't think the EcoBoost is going to blow up tomorrow. I did save the VIN number, so I'll keep track of that car and let you guys know how it fares for its next owner. But you know, it was just giving me those weird little scares with the smoke at idle, which they issued a TSB about, but I couldn't take it to the dealer to have them fix their own TSB because the car had mods, and they'd be like, oh, well, he modified, so we're not going to even fix it. And then they would, you know, flag my car and said, oh, well, we're going to void your warranty if anything happens, and they would have just, you know, kicked me to the curb, because according, you know, it seems like with Ford, if you have any mods, they try and blame the issue on those mods and just throw you to the streets. So, you know, I mean, and there have been people that have had good experiences that have had light mods, and Ford has covered it. And, you know, so it's, again, this isn't 100% of the time. I'm not bad-mouthing Ford or anything, but they're very strict with their warranty, and rightly so. I mean, it's not their fault if someone makes stupid mods to their car and then it blows up. That's not, Ford shouldn't have to cover that. But I just didn't have confidence in a brand new engine in a brand new car, and mine was very early production. It was built August of 2014, one of the first EcoBoosts off the line, and you know, first year cars, they have teething problems. I think the 2016 and up EcoBoost will probably be a very reliable car for the most part, and there won't be too many issues. But like I said, I just wanted to play it safe, and that's one of the reasons why, you know, I upgraded the GT. Now, getting back to why I didn't get a different color, why I didn't get, you know, a 2017, they discontinued the guard color here for 2016 was last year. They did it for 2015 and 2016, and so that the guard is absolutely my favorite color, and I would not have wanted any other color. And another reason why I did a 2016 is because they discontinued these hood vent turn signals. That was a 1 year only thing for 2016 only. 2015s didn't have it, 2017s don't have it. Only 2016s have the hood vent turn signal. Again, that might be a stupid reason to buy a 2016 to some people, but to me, that was an enormous upside, and one of the other biggest reasons, aside from the color, as to why I wanted to get a 16. Now, the 17s are cool. They do have Apple CarPlay standard, whereas this one, according to Ford, since I do have the Sync 3 system, which I'll show here in a minute, since I do have the Sync 3, I will be able to get Apple CarPlay in the car, but apparently you have to buy new hardware that Ford has to install, and then they will update it to have Apple CarPlay, and that'll happen at some point this year. They didn't announce when that's going to be available for 2016 models, but any 2016 model with Sync 3 will have Apple CarPlay as an available upgrade, so I will be able to get that, but it's standard in the 2017s. It's already ready to go, which is nice, but the 2017s don't have the guard, and also, you know, if I were to get a 2017, it would be, you know, fine. I do like the new lightning blue color that they have, which is basically identical to World Rally Blue, almost. It's very, very close to World Rally Blue, which is cool. But, you know, getting back to the color, the reason why I love guard, in addition to the bullet thing, I like that it's a pretty color, you know, especially in the sunlight and stuff. It really shines, and it's a really, I think it's a multi-dimensional color. It's not, you know, a singular just black or white. It takes on different tones. At night it almost looks black. When it's cloudy it looks gray, and then in the sunlight here it looks nice and green. And that's really cool to have kind of a color that changes a bit. That makes it interesting to me. And so that's one of the reasons. And I don't like being flashy. You know, like my buddy, my very good friend, has a competition orange GT, and he gets tons of looks everywhere he goes in that. And I mean, it's fun having attention, and you know, some people really thrive on that stuff, and that's for them. But for me, I like being low profile. I like flying under the radar. I don't like being the flashiest thing. I don't like everyone staring and all that kind of stuff. I like just kind of blending in, and that may be boring, but that's just me. So you know, it is what it is. But that's another reason why I really love this color. Start it up here. Still love that startup. So yeah, I was going to do a separate video on Sync 3 as well, but I just decided not to because it's really basic and simple, honestly. So here, we'll turn down the air so you're not getting wind noise there. But that, as you can see, you might have just seen there, the animations for the Sync 3 are kind of cool with fan speed, but also with volume whenever you do turn on the audio here. It's kind of cool with the way that it animates there. But yeah, I mean, it's just very straightforward there. I have all my nerdy radio station presets that I like. I love the oldies and classics and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, you know, it's really straightforward there. You have your sources. You just go through them. Everything's nice and simple there. And, you know, then climate. Again, this looks a lot like the standard old My Ford Touch. You know, you have your basic phone stuff. Mine does not have navigation, so you know, if you want to use apps on your phone, there are some apps that work even if you don't have Apple CarPlay, and you just have to have your phone plugged in for those. Stuff like Spotify, stuff like that, you can use through here, Pandora, all that kind of stuff. And then there's settings, and that's it. I mean, so there's not much to it. It's just really straightforward, easy to use. The home screen, I actually prefer the old My Ford Touch home screen because it showed you more information. This one, if you want to like do your audio and stuff, like if I were to turn on the radio, I can't. In the old My Ford Touch, you would be able to switch your radio stations on the home screen. Now you have to go into the audio tab to change that, which is a little bit of a pain. Not the biggest deal, but just, you know, one of the reasons why I prefer it. But I do like this snappier interface. It's much slicker, easy to use, and you know, it still gives you your basic information. You do still have the temperature and the time, and you know, that's for the interior temperature, what you have it set at, and that's the outside temperature there. So yeah, but that's basically it. again, not worthy of a full video. One other little weird, well, two actually weird quirks with the 2016 over the 2015 I had before was the shaker logo is now painted, and the 2015 it was just black and embossed kind of there in the plastic. This one it's painted. And the other thing my wife actually noticed, which is kind of strange, they changed the cup holders. So the cup holders in my 2015 had little rubber notches on all the three corners here, and those rubber notches she said she actually would kind of you know, like, because it held her drinks in better, her water bottle when we go to the gym and stuff like that. This one just has two plastic tabs, and honestly it holds bottles in worse than the old design, and I'm not sure why they bothered to redesign the cup holders. Maybe it was a cost-saving measure here for the second model year or something. Just a strange little change there, but everything else is the same, and you know, everything is still very beautiful here in these new Mustang interiors. They just did such an outstanding job in them. So yeah, but that's basically all the stuff I wanted to touch on in this video. Definitely let me know any additional questions that you may have about this car, and I will certainly answer it in follow-up videos. But just, like I said, wanted to kind of give you guys an overview, a rundown of everything here. Actually, one thing I didn't do yet, I didn't show the hood under the hood here. I'll show you the engine real quickly. Let's see how well I can do this with one hand. I know there is still a hood prop, so I will have to put the camera down and cut to the hood open. All right, and there it is. Beautiful, glorious 5-liter V8. Really fills out that engine bay nicely. And so yeah, it's looks good. This is that, I think this is that sound tube. It doesn't look very attractive, honestly, under here. And you can see it pipes in through the firewall there, and I think it's picking up sound from there and piping it in. And that's fine. It's real sound, unlike the EcoBoost, which plays stuff through the speakers. This is real sound, which is nice, and it sounds spectacular. And that leads me to one final thing I was going to mention about this car, and that is everyone's saying do mods, you know, do an exhaust. You know, so I know if this car could be modified according to the majority of the community, I'm sure that everyone would want me to just slam it on airbags and do crazy stands and put a supercharger on it and the craziest, loudest exhaust possible and just make it some crazy show car. But that's not me. That is not my style whatsoever. And honestly, I mean, it's again just a brand new car, so this may change eventually, but I'm currently totally happy with it completely stock. Even the sound of the exhaust and everything, I mean, it could be a slight bit louder, but actually in the cabin it sounds really nice. You have a rich induction V8 note there, you know, from the engine bay itself, and you do get a little bit of the exhaust sound. You can hear the exhaust, especially with the windows down. You can hear it for sure. It's not totally silent like some people seem to think, and I actually think it sounds good. My buddy has had his GT, his 2015 Competition Orange one here for almost 30,000 miles now, and he hasn't bothered to change the exhaust. He said it sounds good enough. I mean, sure, a little more volume would be nice, but I got burned really with the EcoBoost and with the BRZ. Both had extremely loud exhaust, and it got really old after a while with the drone on the highway. I do a lot of highway driving, going to film cars to review and stuff like that. I don't want something that annoys me. And the EcoBoost, even after only 6 months with that exhaust, which was a turbo back, fully, you know, pretty loud exhaust, that got kind of old, and the drone was kind of rough. And so I'm scared to go too loud on this exhaust and end up hating it, and you know, trying to swap out exhaust and stuff is a pain. So I may keep it totally stock, and I know I'm gonna disappoint everyone. It's okay. You can be disappointed, but I have to be happy. I have to keep my sanity. It's my own car, and as much as I'd love to, you know, do some crazy build for you guys or do some, you know, project car or something with this, it's just I have to live with this every day, and I want it to be something that I'm not going to hate after a year or so. I want to keep this for a while. The only way this car will go is if they do come out with a Bullet. For the 2018 model year, if they do an actual 50th anniversary Bullet edition that really ticks all the boxes for me as far as what I want a Bullet to be for this new generation, then this car will probably get traded in for that. Otherwise, I may keep this car forever. The reason being, after this generation, once the new S650s come, it's rumored that they will be either fully turbocharged with all the engine choices, or that the V8 will be a really expensive high-end version, and you know, they'll just have EcoBoost engines for all the other power plants and stuff. Again, totally rumors. Don't bank on that yet. They may keep the 5.0 here for a long time to come, but you know, just, you know, I feel like this is really the pinnacle of the old school and new school mix. And I feel like, you know, they'll probably be doing displacement on demand, or, you know, the auto stop start stuff and red lights and all that fuel saving stuff as, you know, the federal emissions standards and all that stuff come in to kill all the fun for performance cars, and force everyone to go turbo and force everyone to go, you know, with you know, these tiny little engines that don't sound as good most of the time and stuff. I feel like this is, you know, one of the last of this dying breed of a manual, naturally aspirated, you know, port injected V8, simple. You know, you don't have to worry about any direct injection issues. You don't have to worry about any turbo issues. It's just a simple, reliable, old school V8, honestly, that still has enough of the new technology to, you know, keep you happy. It has the new tech and you know, the smartphone integration, all that kind of stuff. So it's a perfect blend of the two. And like I said, unless they do a bullet for the 2018 model year, I may keep this car for the rest of my life, or at least for a very, very long time. So that's kind of where I'm at currently. So we'll just have to wait and see what Ford does. If they do a bullet, then that will probably be the last Mustang I own for a very long time, or else this one will be the one that I hang on to for a long, long time. So yeah, looking forward to the adventure as I go on with this car. It should be fun. Anyway, hopefully this video didn't end up being too long for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Once again, like I said, let me know any other stuff that you'd like to hear me talk about on the GT here that I might have missed. And thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.